am so lonely at work. I have no one, no friends, nothing.
What are you talking about? You feel lonely at work? Why?
I'm a little island.
Have you talked to people? Reached out, asked questions, got to know other people?
I get a little nervous.
Well, there's no reason to be nervous. And we're going to learn a little bit more about why we shouldn't be and how to engage with our coworkers today with Chelsea Carlson on the Principal Choice Podcast. Find your purpose, find your people, and find your place. Welcome back to the Principal Choice Podcast. We are joined by Chelsea Carlson on this episode to talk about engagement, how to talk more with our team members, find that sense of home and belonging, and sometimes all it takes is just asking. Welcome back to the Principal Choice Podcast. We are joined by Chelsea Carlson, and we want to talk to you a little bit about engagement. Engagement is a very, very important thing when it comes to being a part of a team, being able to relate to the people on your team, whether it's your manager, whether it's your coworkers, whoever it is. What is the biggest impact positively that you see with team engagement when it gets created?
Good question, Eric. Thank you for asking. So when it comes to team engagement and positive interactions, it's really a great morale booster. We spend, 40 hours of our time at work. We may even spend more time with our coworkers and colleagues than we do sometimes with our own friends and family. So it's really important to be able to find that engagement within the workplace to be able to keep creating that and boosting that morale while we're in the work environment.
Sure.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of the hard part to remember is that we do spend a lot of time with our associates and our coworkers, and it is sometimes more than what we spend with our friends and family. And, I know I always feel like I get a little bit of an uplifting bit of hope, if you will, in my life when I'm able to connect with those that I care about. And I think when you show that with your associates, it really just helps build a more familiar environment for sure. And people feel a little bit braver. Have you noticed a big difference in your team, after you have these engagements, events, I should say, or, when you do one of your little things, I don't know what you want to call it, the events, your planned engagement parties.
I understand what you're saying. So we do offer different types of engagement activities, whether that's doing scavenger hunts for different updates we have just within, the procedures that we use on a day-to-day basis. We've even had off-the-clock engagements virtually where we've done paint by numbers together. So it's all over the spectrum because people connect differently with different types of engagement. Some need more than others. But I would say that usually after some sort of engaging activity, whether they're involved in one of our extracurricular groups or working together to problem solve or just kind of having the opportunity to hang out in a more lax environment, it's usually easier for associates to find their work friends or somebody that they can relate with or somebody that they might feel a little bit more comfortable reaching out to that they may not have known who to reach out to prior to that. So it's shown a lot of positive impact, being able to offer different types of engagement depending on the needs of what people want.
Yeah, that's definitely good because, like you said, not everyone wants the same exact thing. Not everyone wants to do the paint by numbers. Not everyone wants to do the scavenger hunt, but switch it up a little bit.
Having the option to do so.
Exactly.
And giving them the power to have the option to decide what they would like to engage in.
Yeah, having the option is huge because not having the option just makes it feel just like work all of the time, which some people are okay with that. Some people want that. But a lot of other people are saying, I want more from this. Maybe not give me more work, but can I get a little coffee break here and there? Especially in a virtual environment where you don't just get up from your desk, go to the break room, grab a snack, and it's like, what's up, Steve? It's you get up and you go to your own kitchen. So it's a little bit different. Took the words right out of my
mouth. Yes. Yeah. It has been challenging in a remote environment, especially switching from being in office to completely remote. We have folks that work in several different states, several different cities. So it's almost impossible to get an entire team together for one outing in one evening in one area. So we have to be able to accommodate to the fact that we're in different locations, different time zones. We have different work environments and a way to feel connected, even though we don't have a neighbor necessarily right next to us. And so it can be difficult sometimes to find the time to do so, but if we can better accommodate to what works best for everybody, where we see the most positivity, the most improvement, and it helps with work ethic too, as well, to see that socializing and engaging with your neighbor or your peers, even though they're not right next to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really love that. And I want to go back to what you said too about it allow those engagement activities, which thank you. That was the word that escaped my brain there. But these activities, they show you who can be your work friends and how those can kind of flourish and sometimes go beyond just a working relationship. I really feel like having a work friend is so important. And I think it really helps strengthen the morale for sure. It really does. What kind of benefits do you see out of having that work friend, and how do you try and help, nourish it?
For me personally, or just like through observation through others?
A little bit of both, if you got it.
For me personally, once I started opening up to the idea of engaging more of like, I'm here to do my job, I got to do this and do it really well, and started expanding my social network and getting to know different individuals within my team, within my department, and within the company, really made me feel more at ease that I may not be the only one feeling uncertain about something, or I might be feeling really good about a different type of encounter or something that we have. As far as seeing like how others react when they find their work friends, it just like, it really warms my heart actually to see someone who might be like new or unfamiliar, not knowing who to ask for, and to find someone that they can connect with. It boosts the strength like within the team itself. People are more likely to want to help each other and come to each other's aid and have a little bit of that more comfort of, oh, well, even though that they might be 3 states over, they're not such a bad person. We have a lot more in common and have a lot of similar ideas about some of the work that we encounter day to day and can learn from it.
100%. One of the things that you were kind of touching on there too was that the work ethic, the team environment as well. It was kind of clicking in my brain where whether the situation is positive or it's negative, if you have those work friends or friend, it makes it so much better. Whether you're both going through a tough time or you're both going through a really good time, it like elevates everything. Because we all need those times to vent a little bit.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not best with your boss or with someone that you look up to in a certain way. Sometimes it's nice when you can vent a little bit with a coworker, but keeping it productive, of course, at the same time. But it's always good to get those things off your chest. So
yeah, share that camaraderie a little bit.
Exactly. 100%.
I mean, I try to stray away from negativity, but it is inevitable and it is human, and it's okay to feel certain way and to express it, but also to just be mindful to not let that snowball in an environment where everybody's just programmed about some negative effect. I think actually it was in one of the previous episodes about talking about positivity, how one positive thing or 10 negative things like overweigh one positive feature. So as long as we're still finding that commonality of we can agree on something that maybe may not be the most favorable circumstance, to still be able to uplift each other and see each other and see everybody hearing each other out, being that support, and being there to, kind of come out of the dark of a bad situation together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes just seeing that little bit of light at the end of the tunnel really does just change things. It kind of lifts the weight. And especially when you can be there to say, hey, I do understand where you're coming from. I can relate. That's just empathetic and compassionate listening right there. And, helping them through those situations for sure. How do you feel engagement kind of plays into that?
How engagement plays into, I'm sorry, could you reword that for me?
Yeah, it got a little word there. So, how does engagement help turn a bad situation into a better situation?
It makes people not feel so alone. A lot of times, especially working remotely, we might feel that we are the only one going through something, or someone might feel that, why is this only happening to me? Why am I always being targeted? When in fact, if we can engage and know how to communicate and say, hey, anybody else experiencing these issues or anybody else feel this way, sometimes having a little bit of that group mentality can turn something less favorable into a favorable situation by saying, well, this seems to be affecting everybody at the time, but let's put our heads together and maybe figure out what we can do to make this situation better. Or maybe we can reach out to that work friend and say, hey, when this happened to you, do you have any suggestions for what you did that might have helped this situation? And sometimes we learn something from our work friends or from the least expected places if we just ask and know who to ask.
Yeah, communication's key there, of getting the right info, or at least, like you said, putting our brains together and trying to figure out a solution, or how do we report this in the best way possible, things like that. I do want to take a little bit of a flip side to the positives and kind of talk a little bit more about those situations where things are getting a little negative.
Okay.
And it's starting to snowball. What are some things that you do to stop the snowball and try to get everyone pulled back a little bit and onto a more productive range?
Okay, so for me personally, I really do like this question. I am a big firm believer in the law of attraction. For those of you that don't know, the law of attraction is about the energy that you put into the world. The more positive energy you put in, the more positive you will receive. Goes all sorts of ways. If you're constantly stating, everything is awful, everything always bad happens to me, you're probably going to see it in the light where there's going to be those reactions. So whenever we start seeing something get a little, out of hand, or maybe something isn't quite going right, maybe we're having some system malfunctions, which we all know how frustrating those can be, trying to not necessarily like sugarcoat a situation, be like, it's going to be sunshine and rainbows from here on out, but just being real with the situation. For example, like today, we might be going through this, but we're all going to get through it. We'll figure it out. We're all going to go to bed tonight, wake up tomorrow, it'll be a new day. So just trying to have more of like a realistic, positive aspect when things go wrong, and also to think before speaking sometimes. That's sometimes taking a moment of silence before speaking about and engaging into that negative conversation can really help deviate away from it and help you come up with something a little bit more on the planes of everybody else, if that makes sense, kind of.
Yeah, no, that definitely does make sense. Challenging the people that you work with to kind of think in that same direction of, if you're talking about things negatively all the time, it's never going to look that good. Yeah. That's just the fact of the matter. Law of attraction, or whatever you want to call it, that's just what it is. Your mindset's negative. When you go to a team engagement, that's supposed to be fun, and you didn't get a certain thing that you wanted from that because you didn't win the game, so you didn't get the gift card, and now you're thinking badly about it. Okay, that's on you. Did you have fun though? Did you enjoy time with your team members? Throwing those things into there and just trying to make sure you're maybe not always thinking positive all the time, but thinking productive.
Yes.
Maybe, hey, this situation sucks, but how can we get through it together? How can we turn this negative into we're moving forward. Yeah. We're getting somewhere.
I like that. That's a great idea, Eric. Turning not necessarily something into positive, but productive. Because essentially, once we're being productive, there's usually a positive outcome with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of living in the journey rather than seeing the destination sometimes. So.
Absolutely. It's it helps really reframe your mind, because I know when I am productive and I stop and I look back at what I've done, I was like, wow, I feel really good about that. Like you want to give yourself a pat on the back. So when you're just fostering that and really kind of saying like, hey, we're allowed to sit in the negative for a minute. You're allowed to feel these like upset feelings about the situation, but we know this is temporary. We know that, and sometimes even if it's not, we know that this is new. We know that this is scary, but let's think of all the things that can go right and try and move forward from there. And if there's issues along the way, we're going to work on it together. And I think really knowing that it's a together thing is what really seals the deal, because it's not just one person or an island. It's everybody. It's not just associates, it's managers, it's seniors managers, it's everybody when it comes to that, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and that's just fits the whole theme of engagement, of just knowing who to talk to and having those resources, because sometimes it really helps to just have that work friend or somebody to talk to, or a group that you feel comfortable with, to maybe, I don't want to necessarily say air out those grievances, but to talk it out together, and then maybe wrap up that conversation with something that you did do well today. Like, how was that last call that you had? Or how was that last project that you did? Like, did you feel good about that? And supporting each other and saying, that's super awesome. I'm really glad you put yourself out there for that. Now, what are your plans for the weekend? So,
What are some things that you practice or hold as like procedures for yourself to make sure that you are continuing to engage people on your team? Like, do you message everyone every day? What are some things that you do to make sure you're staying on top of it yourself?
I do like spreadsheets. And so I actually do keep like a spreadsheet of just different interactions just for my own personal well-being, so that I need to make sure that I can get around to everybody. I know that I'm not perfect, and I always want to leave room for improvement. So with my team specifically, usually when we meet up, I'll say, would you like more or less meetups? Would you like to engage more? What do you need more from me? What do you need less from me? What would you like to see more of, like, within the team? Do you want to get together with your teammates more? And finding opportunities that are productive, and also ways to give them the opportunity and the platform to converse with each other.
Love that. For sure.
I know. I'm just like, well, my goodness. I really do love that, because I think asking those questions really helps tailor the experience for everybody while respecting their boundaries. Because I know some people are just like, nope, I'm shy. I don't want to deal with this. Please don't talk to me. Don't perceive me. Like, I just want to do my job and maybe say hi every once in a while. But then there are those that really thrive on, social interaction and, those meetings and just getting to chat and let it go.
I won't lie. I do have a list of, this person wants to meet up once a week. This person wants bi-weekly, and this person would prefer if we never met up at all. And that's totally fine. It's just how each person builds their own success levels for engagement. So I want to honor that the best of the ability, and everybody needs something different.
100%.
Yeah, I was thinking back too to what you were mentioning of, when we were talking about communication and asking the right people and knowing the right people to ask questions to. How do you help support people to reach out and branch out to kind of learn more people, so they know the right people to kind of reach out to when they have issues?
When they have issues, there's definitely a sense of responsibility and accountability to it. If somebody wants something, I will help give tools to what they need, but ultimately, if it's like within their grasp, to help them navigate the way to ask for what they want or what they need. So that's
kind of just navigating them where they need to go at that point. Yeah. Because I think that's always the hard part. It's, testing the waters. Who do I need to talk to about this? Or how can I build this kind of connection or this bridge? And it's how to kind of extend that olive branch, if you will.
And just networking and putting yourself out there. Principal Choice has so many different opportunities and different extracurricular activities that are great platforms. In fact, it's actually how I met a lot of people outside of my own little bubble, was just starting to ask questions, finding commonalities with people in those groups, whether or not I was actually a part of a specific group or not, just maybe picking out a name or two that I see every so often and be like, hey, I see your name come up all the time in my feed. Like, tell me about what you do or what you like, or just finding some sort of common interest. I know that it's harder for some people to do that than others, but sometimes putting yourself out there a little bit and just not being afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Like you said, that's a really hard thing for people. Yeah. Like, that's a hard thing for me sometimes, where I'm like, it just feels so nervous. I'm like,
the worst they're going to do is say no.
Yeah, that's what I have to.
Or not respond.
Exactly. That's what I have to tell myself. I'm like, that's the worst that could happen. Like, and if it is worse than that, then it was probably something on their end. Like,
I've been told no several times and been ghosted several times. But
she's like, okay, I'll move on. Well, not a big deal.
I respect it. I respect it. Yeah. And, that just makes me think, and I'm probably going to butcher this. I don't know the exact quote, but it's just like, you almost have to be brave to do that and kind of just take that risk. And, what's success if you're not making yourself a little bit uncomfortable?
Yeah.
You know, you have to make yourself a little bit uncomfortable and put yourself in those a little bit uncomfortable situations to really grow and learn. And you know what? If you fail, that's great because that's a learning opportunity and that goes towards your success. So I think that's a really, I like those interesting little spots there.
100%.
I feel like I heard that on one of your previous episodes too, where it's like there's no such thing as a failure if you gain something from the experience.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it's okay to be uncomfortable while doing that. I mean, when I became a manager, I was super uncomfortable because I was like, I have never done this in my life. So it was just, you know, learning, and then you kind of start getting that confidence naturally, and then you start exuding that, and you're a little bit more.
It becomes easier.
You're kind of excited.
Others.
You're excited to take those little risks and engage with others for sure.
It's like working out that muscle. It feels weird, but as you strengthen it, it just starts to feel more natural. Just like, I don't know, like running or lifting weights or literally anything, or even just like thinking critically. Like,
I can tell you running is lots of repetition.
When I said running, I was like, I know Chelsea's got this.
I was like, we have the runner here.
I do have one other question for you. So for, let's say there's another manager and they're really struggling with getting their team engaged. What would be a few things that you would push them to do to help them kind of start that spark with their team?
I would say a couple of things. First of all, I'd maybe ask them what they want. Ask them what they want. Some people may not know what they want, and some might say, I wish we did more of this together, or I wish I had more time for this. But by asking that question to somebody else gives them that opportunity to express what they need first. And that's a really good way to start. If they don't want to ask the team, just say putting themselves out there and just reaching out to individuals. Hey, are you comfortable if I set up a time for us to meet up every so often? Like, do you want to meet up every Friday, or do you want to meet up every other Monday? Even if you're not necessarily talking about stats or production, just how are you doing? What's going on? Tell me your interests. Tell me a little bit about you. Do you have anything coming up this summer? Even if it's not always necessarily production-based work information, just getting to know somebody on a different level, because you will learn so much about each other and probably how much you have in common too, which is very rewarding and sometimes actually really enjoyable to be able to have those conversations with people and say, I know that last time we were talking, you were telling me about a project you're working on. How's that project going? Because gives a little bit of that mental break from what we're doing 8 hours plus a day. And so it just kind of puts a more humanistic perspective on our conversations.
Well, and that mental break can up that productivity per se. You know what I mean? And it's not all about, like you said, stats, but it can help them feel like they're more belonging. And that's what matters most. So, well, Chelsea, thank you for joining us on this episode. Milena, what did you learn today?
Well, I learned the importance of engagement and how it can strengthen a team. You know, putting yourself out there and asking those questions and not afraid to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations so you can really gain those wonderful work friends that are really going to help you out through thick and through thin.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just ask.
Yes, it's just
hey, what are you doing? Hey, what's your summer plans? Those types of things. Get engaged with each other.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
And for any other resources, check out our show notes below. And
find your purpose.
Find your people, and find your place with the Principal Choice Podcast.